Alright, really quick video. Hopefully this time I can get through it quite fast. So this time normally I say quick video and it isn't a quick video. But anyway, it's a very quick sort of 5 points or so video. I'm going to do a proper review versus these two. I'm getting a lot of people saying which one should I get. So I've just picked 5 or so points about that sort of appeal to me and give you my quick opinion on it. It's not going to be sort of showing you the features properly, it's just a quick brain dump. Point number 1, size and pocketability. The Note is slimmer, ever so slightly, than the Lumia 920. I personally don't notice this beast as much in my pocket as I do this one. Now I don't know if it's physically heavier or not. It feels lighter, but it's slimmer and it's more spread out. So when it slips into your pocket, it's a lot less noticeable than the Lumia 920. They're in my pockets now, you have to believe me, but I've got jeans on and they both fit. I mean, say there's no problem, you're not going to struggle with either of them. I just noticed this one more than this. I'm wearing tracksuit bottoms, coming back from the gym. I find when I put the Lumia in, it's like, you can feel it weighing down, you don't so much feel it as much at all with the thinner Note 2. Point 2, build quality. Nokia's better, it's more solid. I think there's a video of someone running over this with a car. If I dropped this and I smacked it on the floor, I wouldn't think twice. The Note 2, it looks and feels a lot like the Galaxy S3, obviously. I think it's built a bit better, but this metal edging around the side is quite soft. Like I say, I know my girlfriend smashed the Galaxy S3 recently by dropping it out of a pocket or just off her knee as she was getting into the car. I know 3 people that have smashed their Galaxy S3s. I'm not saying this would be any better or any worse, but just, I don't know, from a build quality point of view, the Nokia is a better build quality. It just feels rock solid, whereas this, it's quite easy, it's quite hard to handle, and like I said before in previous videos, yes, you know what you're getting when you get it, but it's quite easy to drop and you can fumble with it, and I just think that if you did drop it and it landed on one of those corners, because the glass goes to the edge, it would do the old shattering across, whereas this, I don't think it would, personally. I'm not going to test it though. Call quality, they're both as good as each other. I mean, the signal on both, I mean, I'm with Vodafone on this one, I'm with EE on this one. They both sound great. I mean, I've never had any problems. I have had problems with Vodafone dropping out, but that's completely unrelated to the handset. They're clear, they're loud enough, they sound good. I mean, I've made a few calls on both of them. Obviously, I've had this one for a long time, this one for well over a week now. And when I use them, they sound great. It's not a deciding factor. They both make actually very good sounding phones. It's a draw. Screen, again, personal preference to me is the AMOLED on the Note. I've got this on full brightness. I don't have this one on full brightness, but that's because of the battery. I'll get onto the battery later on, but my own personal view is when you lie them on the table and you look, because I have my phone's laid on the desk at work, and when they're next to each other, when you look at them square on, they look the same, but as the angles go, this one gets dimmer. Now, I know this is on more, I'll tell you what, I'll put this on full brightness so I don't get someone saying, that one was full brightness. So let me just find auto brightness off. Right, let's do this properly. Now they're both on full brightness. This one has the slight edge, I would have said, over this one on full brightness, which they're both on full brightness now. But when they're laid on my desk, I tend to notice that this one looks dimmer. Now, it means nothing to me, that, because when I look at a phone, I look at it front on. I think that's a bloody stupid comparison, personally, but it's just something I've noticed. When I angle that phone, it goes very dim. When I angle that phone, it doesn't go dim. If that's the kind of thing that annoys you, well, you're better off with this one. I prefer AMOLEDs because I like the black being black. On full brightness here, you can't really see it, but you can see like almost a light, a dark grey, whereas the black on this, have I got a picture of blackness? No, I haven't, but that menu's quite black in the background, and I'm out of focus. But trust me, the black is blacker on this. The colours burst more. Well, that is very vivid. It's too close to call, but I prefer AMOLED. All right, choose whichever one you want. You're not going to go wrong with either. You're not going to get one and go, oh my god, I can't see it. You know, battery life. This is better than this. The battery on the Note 2, you'll get 2 days out of it, even hammering it. This, I'm getting a day out of it, don't get me wrong. It's at 40% at the minute. That's because when I got home from work, I plugged it on charge because it was way down to sort of 18%. Take them both off charge, well, if I've bothered charging this one overnight. Take it off charge about 8:30 in the morning, and by the time it gets through to 5, 6 o'clock, it's probably down to 30%-ish, something like that, and that's without taking any calls. Through an average day, I'm talking, they just get used as little computers, they don't get used as phones through the day usually. Although when you use them both as phones, it draws the least battery. I've had an hour phone call on both of them, and look at the percentages, they've hardly dropped at all. It's all the other things like the screens, everything else you can do, watch videos, playing games or whatever, hammers the processor, things like that. Taking calls doesn't use much battery, but I find that the battery on this, I've been spoilt by this because it's got 3,100 milliamp, this has got 2,000 I think, or 2.1, but all that aside, I don't know whether it's attributed to the AMOLED screen or the technology behind it, but you will get more battery life out of this. And again, I have this on full brightness all the time, and I have this on auto, which pretty much means it's dim, it's quite dim, and it still chews through battery. It is getting better. I will do a better review of just the battery. It will get you through a day. Obviously, at the end of the day, most days, I charge this anyway, because then the next day it's not down to sort of 50, 40%, whatever. But the battery is better in the Note 2, in my opinion, by quite a large margin. Camera. Camera is excellent in both of them. This one, as I've said before, is exceptional in low light. You have a little shortcut button that you can press, physical hardware button, which I really like, and the camera app itself, hold the button down. It always does that little flash to sort of get the focus if it's in low light and snap. You can turn that off, takes a picture, and then you've got your little back arrow. Oh, that's another thing, if you touch the screen, it actually takes a photo, which is a little bit annoying to me because I'm used to touching to focus. But that's just what I'm used to. So, yeah, you snap a picture and you go back through that little arrow, and all that kind of thing's good. Note 2. Camera, again, it's unfair for me to say that the battery's rubbish on this, because the camera's rubbish on it. It's not, it's a great camera. The front camera on them both as well, it's quite good, but you get really good pictures from both of them. I think this has the edge with the quality, but it doesn't feel as quick and as smooth to use. It feels, let me just, when I'm using the camera on it, so let's launch it again. You have to press that button quite hard, like I said. Ow, that's really bright. Wow, that looks odd, doesn't it? But when you snap that button, it's done it again. I'm just blinding myself twice. I don't know, there probably is, again, I haven't been into, I'm going to do a camera review separately, sorry. Just taking another picture because I've tapped the screen again. Damn it, I just want to get into settings, photo settings. I'm not sure if there's any sort of burst mode. I don't think there is. Whereas, basically, there's a lot more settings on this Note. You'll get a lot more pictures, but holding this to take pictures feels better because it's not, because of the thin sizes and the overall size of it, it feels a bit clumsy. Like I've said, you put your little finger under it and you hold it. You can use it, I mean, again, you can hold it with 2 hands, but with it being a bit thinner, it's a bit harder to use for a camera. But at the end of the day, if you're going to take pictures either, if you do a lot of pictures in low light, then this is better. If you just take pictures in the daytime, you're not going to go wrong with either of them, to be honest. But I've still got to get to grips with it. This has got a lot more settings on the camera than this has got, and they both do panorama stuff. You've got all these different lenses you can get on this one. It just feels a little bit clunky in a way, although the physical button's better. So I'm contradicting myself quite a lot, I'm aware of that. But if I had to choose a camera, I would take this one with me, even though I've just said it was worse, because of the holding, it's comfier, the button's a little bit easier, and the low light situations. So either or's good, this one's better in low light. Whew, that was tricky. Moving on. Keyboard interface on both of them, prefer the Note 2. It's mainly because it's bigger, and the keys are spaced out better. You've got a numeric row of keys along the top. Let me just open WhatsApp Messenger on both of them. Again, this isn't one of them ones where it's going to be slightly out of focus. You just get more area on here, and you can do the swipey thing where you can just draw your finger across to type words. And on the other one, I like it. I really do like the keyboard. It's responsive enough. It's quite accurate. It's got the autocorrect. They both got the autocorrect. Obviously, you can install more keyboards and stuff on the Android one, whereas you're stuck with that one there. Turn it sideways. It goes sideways depending on which app you've got. I think most of them. I've not seen any that don't go sideways. But to be honest, keyboard's quite an important thing to me because it's something that I use every single day. I use it more than taking the phone calls, making phone calls. But I just find it's a little bit tighter on this, and every app that I've used, texting, etc., it crunches the screen up quite small. Bring the keyboard up. You're only left with like a tiny amount of screen. Again, it comes back to the size. to do with the size of the phone more so than the layout of the keyboard, but it's just, I'm just trying to hide my number at the top there. I mean, I got people saying in my last video, oh, you didn't hide your address. I don't care. If you want to come round, I'm not really bothered. I'm moving anyway, moving next week. Back to the subject, right, the keyboards. I prefer the keyboard on the Note. The keyboard on the Lumia is great, it's fine, it's not bad, it's just that I would choose the Note one for the screen size. Again, you're not going to go wrong with either. Browser. The browser is absolutely fine on both. Again, you've got, this is google.com, I've got the screens on full brightness, so you're not going to see a great deal there. Should really turn that down. So there you go, I've turned auto brightness on both of them. Still too bright to see, really, in my opinion. Again, this isn't one of those things where you can just, I'm not just going to go for it. This is just me, blur, as I keep saying. But yeah, browser's great on both. Both turn sideways. I've got auto rotate turned off on this. You can't actually turn auto rotate off on this, which annoys me quite a lot. But yeah, again, typing in something and pressing enter. It's quite nice, quite clean, quite fast. Again, similar experience. Yeah, probably if I'm going to browse something, I'll do it on the Note. Again, that's more so because of the size of it. Although if I'm walking and searching for something, I'll probably use this because it's easier to handle. So pretty much stalemate. I can't say that one browser offers you something that the other one doesn't. This is IE, I'm looking at Chrome. Obviously you can install multiple browsers on here. I haven't looked into whether you can install multiple browsers on Windows or they force you to stay with IE, I'm not sure, but again, it's lovely. I mean, the pinch zooming, it's the same on both. I've just opened a website which is just mobile only, so there's no zoom on it, so that's awkward. Let me just find something else. For some reason I've opened Vietnamese veterans of Central Florida, and that's just by tapping random keys, but yeah, it's very, very smooth, very responsive. If you're one of these people that just pinch zooms in and out really fast, then it's ideal for you. Same as this, exactly the same. Again, if you're looking at a deciding factor for buying either, I genuinely don't think that the browser is going to cause you a problem on either. That's pinch zooming on Wikipedia. Again, excellently responsive on both of them. They don't frustrate me, I've not had to wait for either of them. Browsers. Music player. Bit of an odd one for me because I don't really listen to music on my phones. Although since I've got the Lumia, I've started to use it a little bit because the little music application with this mixed radio, again, separate review and stuff, because it feels so solid and it's not as technical as Android, I just find I can press music, plug the headphones in the top, put it in my pocket and use it. I find it easier to do that than I do on this. Now, I don't really know what I mean by that because they both have exceptional multimedia capabilities, but I just find, I don't know, I can't explain it. It's a bit of a stupid comparison, but I find that the music player is a bit more solid on this, and when you quit out of whatever app, music app you're in, and you press it up and down on the volume, there's music controls on the top, easy to get to. Again, with the Android, when it's locked, you have got music controls on the lock screen, but there's just something a bit more solid and a bit more reliable when it comes to music player. I'll do a comparison individually like that at some point. But again, no real justification, I just prefer it. I prefer the app. Music player on this, the Samsung Music Player or Google Music, I don't generally use, but I do on this for no real reason. UI, UX, customization OS, or user interface, user experience, operating system, can of worms. I mean, what I have noticed is they say that this is the most personal phone you can get in the universe. You can customize the heck out of it. Now, no you can't. You can make squares 3 different sizes and put them in a list. Don't get me wrong, I really like it. It's really nice, it's refreshing, it's different, but come on, Android is the king of customization. You can even get a Windows 7 launcher for this and make it look identical to that. Well, yeah, Windows 7, not Windows 8. But yeah, you can do anything with this, but not with this. And I find that I'm kind of seduced by the tiles and the sort of spinny, whippy animation and stuff. I was like, wow, I've got to get one of them. And it is cool, don't get me wrong. I really like it. It's very pretty. But it's up to you. You'll find that if you've already got an Android, you've seen Windows on, you think, I like the way that works, that looks quite funky, I'm going to get it. If you've got a Windows phone and you're a bit sick of it, and because again, it's very much like iOS, it's quite limited, or that's the impression I get so far. It feels like it's doing a lot of the stuff for you that it doesn't give you the full control over, which I kind of am used to with this. But yeah, the live tiles thing, somebody commented on one of the videos, like I said it was boring, and somebody else commented just saying, yeah, it is quite boring. And someone was like, boring? Are you insane? It's absolutely amazing with its live tile. It is, but I mean, a lot of the apps, especially when you put the smallest size, there's nothing live about them. In fact, I would go as far as to call them dead tiles, because the only thing you get is a number in the corner when something's happening. So if my phones make a noise, bling, from the same account, I'll pick the Android up, I'll look in the notification bar at the top, like there's an email logo there now, pull it down, I know exactly what's going on. I've got 4 messages there from YouTube comments and stuff. It's great. Pick up the Windows phone, I'll scroll up and down and go, right, what was that noise for? Oh, email, I've got a thing on the email. There isn't an overall sort of notification centre. There's talk about them making one, but as much as the little tiles update you and stuff, if you've got a long list of stuff going on and you just hear the noise, you have to scroll down and think, right, what noise did I set for that? Or if you've got the same noise for everything, you sometimes struggle finding what it is you need. And another thing that bugs me about it, from a user experience, is like now, my work email address, my Exchange, it says there's an email for ink cartridges. If I go into that, it'll open up my work email. I'm not going to read the ink cartridges email because it's that fascinating. I'm going to read it later. So when I back out, the calendar just says, the app email just says Exchange. It's not telling me that I've got an email to read in there anymore. Now that's such a small thing, but when I go into my other email app on here, and I've got the 4 new messages, press on it and go into it and come back out, it does exactly the same. So what's my point? Yeah, that's a bit stupid of me. I think it's because when I go in here, I can sort of pull down and preview what they are and leave it there. Whereas when you go in to like email on here, come back out, the little live tile stops telling you you've got unread items. And as I just proved to myself, stupidly, it's kind of the same on Android, but I find myself leaving the notifications on top, dealing with day-to-day stuff, and then addressing them when I want to. Whereas when you go in on here, if you don't deal with them there and then, you forget about them. But again, this is a big can of worms. They are very, very different looking operating systems. You can customize this one more than this one. I don't care what anybody says. It is effectively 4 different size squares. A lot of the apps aren't live. I mean, the ones that are, like the photos moving and the pictures, the people, it's quite cool and it's quite pretty. I do like it and stuff. But again, I'm not going to say this is better than that because I'm going to get shot down. No, you can't say this is better than that, and etc. It's personal preference. What I do suggest is if you're going to try the one and you're going to try one and take Windows Phone, you've never had it before, I think the novelty wears off very, very, very quickly. But then you'll pick it up the day after and go, oh, actually. So it's a little bit of love-hate with me. Over the last weekend, I was already getting annoyed with the battery and the way that I was missing info and stuff. But then getting into the music player and the camera and using it more as a camera phone with a music player rather than a smartphone, which is what it feels like, then I fell in love with it again. So again, this individual item could go on forever. Try the one that you've not got if you want to go with it. It's a different experience, but I think this is better because you can do more with it. I've got Loudspeaker on here. I should have covered that earlier, but yeah, the speaker on this, the sound quality is fantastic. It's fantastic on this. You can lie it on the desk. Because you've got the speaker on the bottom, it projects the sound out. I've used it for conference calls. I've used this for conference calls at work. Speaker's on the back. It's got an ever so slight raise on it, and it sort of resonates across the table, but you can crank them both up really loud. Both play music well. I would have to say the Nokia sounds better, I think. I've never actually played the same thing out the same ones, but it's important for some people to have a decent loudspeaker, and those little pinholes in the bottom do provide an exceptionally loud speaker, as does that tiny grill there. Slightly better sound quality and higher volume. I mean, at the moment I have it on 12 in the volume settings, which is obviously with the rocker, and it says in the top right 12. You just tap the little icon at the top right to mute it, unmute it, but it's on 12. If I crank it right up to 30, trust me, it's very loud. Apps, yet again, there's a lot more apps on Android than there are on Windows Mobile. Now, when I mentioned this in my initial review, on my 1 week review, somebody quite rightly pointed out to me that when I went into the store, I went into the collections. I went to this collections bit here. So when I clicked the collections, I was thinking that it was along those lines of, let's say, for love and romance section, it was just showing me that amount of things, and I thought, oh, is that it? I did think that initially, but before I actually did the video, I knew that there was more to it than that. But my point is with the app, everyone says, oh, there's 150,000, you can get whatever you want. Nah, no, I don't think so. When I go into best rated or something that's got like a long list, I've got Flickster, Cocktail Flow. Now that straight away tells me if those are the top rated apps, yeah, I'm sure they're interested in good apps, but Cocktail Flow and a cinema, movies, pictures, whatever you want to call it, app at the top, then Virtual Barber, I'm just like, those are strange categories to have. I mean, there's a lot, obviously with iOS, you've got a lot more professional apps, and this is, Android's catching up with iOS, and I know it's not, as there's not as many and stuff like that, but even when you go into the best rated or the top paid, for instance, top paid, the top paid one is called Free Ringtones. What the hell's all that about? But yeah, that's $1.99, quite expensive, you know. I know it's less than a pint, but I always think apps should be less than 70p really. A YouTube downloader, Cocktail Flow again, $2.99 this time. Then you've got Windows Phone Central, which is all about how Windows Phone works. Those are the top paid apps. I've been through it enough to sort of flick up and down and spend hours looking at apps and stuff, and again, just randomly pick there, like Zombies Run, Speak English, Omegle, Photo Timeline, Photograph, Facebook Touch Pro, Navigation, $3.99, Easy Heart Rate, Live Music. They all seem a bit random, and I know I'm not in a particular category, but I don't know, the selection, the options to choose from aren't there. And with Android, again, it's been around more, I know that, I'm not saying it's better, I'm just saying there's a better selection. If you want to get, if you're an apps junkie, get an iPhone because they've got the most apps out of everyone. People write for them, stuff comes out on there first, and when you get an iPhone and Android app that's the same, like Path for instance, which is a really weird little social networking app, when it came out on Android, it was rubbish in comparison to the iPhone. The iPhone was a lot more polished, they stick to where the buttons should be the size. The eBay app on Android is garbage, much better on iOS. Where am I going with this? Oh, just the point is, again, apps, if you're coming from iOS, which if you're coming to either of these, you might be if you're not swapping from one to the other, because there's only really those three, because there's something called BlackBerry, but I'm not really sure what that means. But where am I going with this? Oh yeah, so you're going to want equivalent apps to the ones you already use. Now, if you're coming from iOS, you'll probably find a match, if not the exact one on here. You won't on here. There's stuff on here that isn't there yet. There's probably equivalents that are as good with different names, and again, I need to look into that more, but apps-wise, Android over Windows Phone every time. Next category I've got on my little sheet down here, on my little list, is Special Move. Now, I just had to include the fact that you've got a stylus with the Note, and with this one, rather than listen to the camera again, I just thought that you can touch it with gloves on. You can set the sensitivity of the screen up so you can have gloves on, and when you're out in these wintry days, it's quite handy because the squares, the tiles are quite big and you can tap them and stuff, whereas this has got the stylus thing on now. I think the touch screen without the sensitivity, with the sensitivity on full, is great. Now there is talk that affects the battery. I haven't looked into that. I've had it on full sensitivity since I got it. But I do find that if you find myself using a pen or a key or something, and it doesn't scratch the screen obviously, and it's quite nice to be able to just do that. It is quite a good benefit of this screen, especially like we've got if you are out and you've got gloves on, or you're wiping the screen with your jumper and you want to use your finger. It's just, I don't know, I just like it. It is quite good. And it does frustrate me when you're out there and you can try. I mean, I've been out there with this and I've answered it with my nose when I've had my gloves on and then hung up my nose and stuff like that, which is a bit awkward, let's face it, especially in public. Whereas the sensitivity of the screen is fantastic when you're gloved up and whatnot. The stylus on the Note, when I bought the Note initially, I bought it just for the size of the screen. I didn't really care about the stylus, but then I found myself using the stylus. I thought, oh, the stylus is pretty cool. I actually quite like it. You pull it out and I've got it set so that it pops up a note. I can quickly write someone's phone number down and then click tick and it'll save it, and then I can go into S Note later on and I can then take that note that I just saved and add it manually as a phone number or something like that. But it is a gimmick when all said and done. It's not something that's going to change your world. It's not something you're going to use a lot. Now, it is nice to pull it out every so often when you're on the train and you don't want to get let's say you've been eating chips or something like that. It's nice to just browse with it, you know, to just flick through screens and look at stuff without even doing anything with the functionality of it. But one of the cool things, if you're on a website and you want to just capture something, hold the button and tap the screen, does the screenshot, which I've got the sound off there, and then it gives you the annotation tools, and you can point to that particular person there, can't really see it's too bright, and you can write stuff like, woo! Now I find myself, I have used that, but in the grand scheme of things, I think you'll find that the stylus comes out less and less the longer you have this, unless you find otherwise and you've got one. I'd like it, I like the option, I'd miss it. If this phone didn't have it, I would miss it now. But I forget it's there, day to day I don't really use it. But pulling out and just whipping down a number, but doing a screenshot and then annotating it, you know, is alright. But what I'm trying to say is, what's the most useful? A pull-out stylus or a sensitive screen that you can use with your gloves or another piece of metal, or even a stylus, you know, a sort of similar stylus kind of thing. The sensitivity of the screen is probably more use. The stylus, again, as time goes by with this phone, you find yourself using it less and less. I do anyway. Last thing I've got on there is just overall, what do you get? I don't know. For me, the most important thing, in all honesty, is battery life and particular applications. I do a lot of stuff with YouTube. Now the YouTube app on here is garbage, it's a website link. I've got all 3 of my YouTube accounts on here, I can hop between them, I can integrate with Google Drive easier, but that's because I'm in the Google ecosystem. I've started to go with the SkyDrive and use apps on my computer, on my Mac and PCs, and my Works PC, and I do spread things out between Drive and Google Drive and SkyDrive and stuff, but it's personal preference, it's up to you. I think when you've got a mobile phone, battery life is really, really important. Now other people say to me, well, you're never away from a power socket for more than 12 hours, so why does that matter? It just does. When you're travelling on the train and it's hopping between different radios and this gets physically warm, it gets borderline hot. Travelling down to London from Lancaster and it's hopping between 3G and Edge and HSPA Plus, this just takes it in its stride. You get there, you may lose 10%. And that's with just light sort of browsing and messing about. This got a real kick in on the way down. I know it's early days for this, I know there's going to be big software updates that come out for it, but I just think from an overall point of view, I couldn't do without the Note. I could do without this, to be honest, and if I'd got this first and then tried this, I'd be like, this is amazing. But again, I'm going to say I'm fairly Android biased because I'm used to it, that's all. But even trying to sort of put all that aside and just looking at them for what they are and for what I do, which is navigation. Navigation would have been an excellent subject to have as well. Idiot, I'll do that next time. Navigation's good on this. But it's not as accurate as it is on this. Even with the offline maps and the functionality and stuff like that, I navigated to my mum's address. It put me in the middle of the street, like 2 roads away, even though I put the right postcode in. But again, that's a whole different video. Overall, I think they're both exceptional handsets, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed with either. I do think the wow factor of the OS wears off quite quickly, even though it's quite quirky and cool, and I still like it, I really like it. I just think that if you're going to spend a lot of money, or get a contract over a long time, and you want something that you're going to use a lot and do a lot of things with, if you can deal with the size of this thing, I think you're better off getting the Note 2 than you are the Lumia. I think the camera and all the stunning low light stuff and the build quality and that, I just think this has more going for it than this, in my opinion. Now, you think what you want. I'm keeping them both. They're both mine. You know, I'm not some sort of fag Android fanboy. Well, I am actually, but I don't have anything to gain by saying one's better than the other. I think you've got to decide what you want, pick them up, play with them. If you've had one specific OS, Windows 7 or Android, you see the other one, it's going to be new, different, fresh, interesting. But it's also frustrating with the missing bits and bats. And I find myself always doing certain things on one and always doing certain things on another. If you could get them both, you do. Be stupid like me and spend far too much money on these kind of things. But if somebody said to me now, you know, you've got to give one of these up forever, it would be this one, and I would keep this one. Even though I'm using this one more because it's newer and I'm learning about it more, I think personally you cannot go wrong with this Note 2. It's the best mobile phone I've ever had, and I have had millions. Since mobile phones came out, I've pretty much had all of them. That's my honest opinion. This is my opinion, my opinionated review after all. You asked for it, that's what I think. I did say this video was going to be quick, I'm really sorry that it's not. I've rambled on for such a long time. I really hope you find this useful. If you don't, sorry, but feel free to comment underneath. Again, ask me for something specific. I'm going to do videos on specific individual bits, including the sat-nav, because I can't believe I missed that as a category. But yeah, leave comment, ask, subscribe, thumbs up, do all that kind of stuff. Go to the Opinionated Review Facebook page. Take care now. Bye bye then.